All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh man, holy cow! You got Andrew. So good to see you today.
Yeah. Good to see you too, Michael. How you doing, man?
Don, doing great. You're almost blending into that awesome Windermere background. I love it.
Yeah, I try to keep it a little more, sneak up on you every once in a while.
So we're here. We are mid-year. This the day this will air is what Friday the 21st, if my math is correct.
Yeah, that is correct.
Man, I tell you, we've been having one-on-ones with our agents and doing mid-year huddles. We're getting ready for a little mid-year mojo coming up here in a couple of weeks on the 8th, which we're somewhat excited about. But man, let's just jump into it and talk a little bit about just the stuff that's going on. I think right now top of mind is rates, right? And
Yeah.
this week, I had an opportunity to attend a National Association convention for 3 days, which was really informative. I know you've been spending some time with the agents as well as a bunch of our lending partners, in the Colorado market. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts there and the things that we can do.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, it's obviously, rates are in the sixes, the high sixes, maybe, depending on where you're at. At least as we sit today, this will probably change tomorrow and I'll be wrong by the time it goes up on Friday.
Right.
But where we sit right now, and obviously we were hoping these were going to trend down maybe into the fives by the end of the year. And as we're looking at the mid-year and as we talk to some of our lender partners and as we talk to our on-staff economists, it's looking like that's probably not as likely as we were hoping at the start of the year. So hey, it is what it is. Obviously, rates going down has a great impact. It allows buyers to, buy more property. But also, I think that, the flip side of that coin is as rates go down, there tends to be more buyers entering the pool. So for our folks who can kind of make it work with our current rate situation, and we can talk about some solutions with our lender partners out there, the odds are you're probably competing a little bit less, hopefully, than you would be if rates were, in the fives or certainly in the fours and threes like they have in the last several years. So the sword does cut both ways, but regardless of the market that we're in, the house that you buy is really what we're going to live in, and the monthly payment you can afford is really what we should really be focusing in on. And that's how I try to really connect with my clients is like, hey guys, it's, I don't care if the rates are 1% or 10%, right? If you can afford $3,000 a month, we're going to work with that figure, right? And so sure, it's nice to get that dollar go further. Yeah, but at the same time, if we can get into it now, we go over this all the time. Historically, Colorado is going to see pretty reliable gains. No one's got a crystal ball, and certainly you can buy individual properties wrong. But market wide, if you look at those 10-year sectionals, we average about 6% a year pretty predictably for the last 40 or 50 years now, right?
Yeah.
So the odds are the house that you buy today, as we sit here in mid-July 2023, is going to be more expensive in July of 2024. And if the rates go down, great. Let's look at a refi option, get your rate back down to where it is going to be. Or conversely, and not that we think that's going to happen, but if rates happen to increase a little bit, then you have a lower rate, right? So there's not a lot of downside to working through the process with your agent now to get your house under contract. What's going to most likely be a lower price than it will be, 12, 24, 36 months down the road, right? Rates we can change. I can't make houses less expensive. I've been trying, every day. I've been, rubbing lucky rabbit's feet and everything, but houses keep getting more expensive, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
And there's an argument that if we went back 24 months ago, even 12 months ago, and if somebody paid $100,000 more at a 2.9% interest, how much different is that from somebody who has a like a 6% but buys it for $50,000 less, right? So those type of things. So I think there's a way to look at it. The other piece is that, and you touched on it, is people ask us all the time, like, when was the best time to buy a house, or is the best time to buy a house? Well, that was probably 10 years ago, right? The reality of it is it's today. And because we have a nationwide shortage, right, of something like $1.5 million or 1.5 million homes short nationally, that it doesn't matter what builder, big or small, in all 50 states, we're not going to close that gap in a timely manner, right? We're closing it incrementally in certain parts of the country, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and Inman put out an article today about how
yeah,
starts are slowing down too, right? So
yeah, yeah,
we're if anything, we're losing ground, right?
yeah.
So I
So
mean,
people's houses are going to be worth more money, right? There's always opportunities, you know, like you said, we live with the payment every single month. And sometimes we get into a property, like for example, I did a quick search for myself in just the whole Denver market between like 250 and 350. And believe it or not, and I did not limit it to area. I did not limit it to single family detached or attached. Believe it or not, there's a handful of properties out there, you know, and some of them need work. Granted, some of them location may be desirable, that's arguable, plus or minus, but there is opportunity out there from a price point perspective, but it really comes down to also perspective. So if someone's moving from a large market at a high dollar price point and a state with incredibly high tax rate, you know, a $600,000 house, honestly, to some people could be a bargain, right? And then the way our tax structure is in Colorado. So there's a lot of things that we need to look at and help guide our people in the right direction, you know, especially clearly on the buy side, right? And put that energy as that trusted advisor, you know, all the way through the process. And I think our national media, I think even social media, and even sometimes our affiliate partners, sometimes the messaging gets skewed a little bit. And that's where they got us as the voice of reason to be able to dissect that data, right?
yeah, well, and it's, you know, and I don't fault those cats all the way, right? Because they have to speak to large sections of data, right? Like
Right.
you know, like and they're gonna get stuff wrong, right? Like there's only so much they can control, and there's only so many predictions, and our models have varying levels of sensitivity and accuracy. But at the end of the day, right, I can tell, you know, I can talk to our clients and say, like, oh, hey, the nationwide numbers or the Colorado wide numbers, or even the Denver wide numbers
Yeah.
say XYZ. Does
Right.
that make you feel better? And they're going to say no, right? Like, so their
Right.
individual situation matters. And to your
Right.
point, like, there's, if we put, if we vary or if we change our relationship with the home buying process, I understand, like, hey, for most of our home buyers, this home is not going to be the home that they live in forever, right? So there's almost always going to be another house to go through. And so, I mean, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. Everybody needs to get one done. If you can do one, if you can get through one house, if you can make that condo in Cap Hill or Aurora or Jefferson County over there in Lakewood, if you can make that work for 2, 3, 4 years, that condo, that small attached property, that small house, man, we're going to be able to pay down that mortgage principal down. We're going to be able to write off some of what we invested. We're going to likely see, as long as we buy the house right, that 6%, 6 to 10% ish, right? You know, appreciation in value. You flash forward all those numbers 3 to 6 years. Now we can take our gains and apply those towards a house that we really want, right?
Mhm.
And again, regardless of what you're looking at, guys, and I rent. I know I help out renters all the time, and sometimes it's the right situation to be in, but it's money that's going towards an asset that's very likely to appreciate, and
Yeah.
and that's why we really try to focus on that monthly nut, right? So your monthly payment, whatever you can afford, right? If that number is $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, whatever it is, that's what we have to work with.
Mhm.
Any home that falls with that range that's going to appreciate, which again, no one's got a crystal ball, but in Denver is very, very likely to,
Right.
then you have an asset, right? If we're going to put yourself in a situation where you're stretching, where now you're paying, $500,000 over that number, well, then now we do have a situation where we probably have a liability. We need to look at other options of like renting out bedrooms and things like that. But guys, if we can just stay disciplined, talk to your clients, work very closely with them, partner with lenders who know what they're doing, and they'll be able to work you into that bracket. Like I've been doing this for long enough and I work with clients who live in rural properties, who live in suburbs, who live in right in the heart of downtown Denver. I can pretty reliably put you within about a mile of where you're living for your rental in a pretty darn similar situation and not have your rent increase at all. Like if you're paying average rent in Denver for a 2 bedroom, $2,800, we can probably put you in like a 2-bed condo, townhouse, small home with the right down payment, the right structure of your loan program for about $2,800 a month, give or take, pretty darn close. So if we can put that money to work for us and ride that living experience out for 2 or 3 or 5 years, man, then you can really turn that into an asset for yourself and sell it and upgrade to the dream home that you want. But If you can reproduce a fairly similar living situation and have that asset make money for you instead of just money that goes into the ether,
Right.
that's what I think we as agents, that's our responsibility, is to help people see that
Right.
that process and see that possibility of not just today, but that long-term investment of 3, 5, 6 years down the road, and maybe even 3, 5, 6 transactions down the road, right? If we're looking to build long-term wealth for our clients' families.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's a really great, I like how you position that between what's that number and let us play within that number. We'll go find it for you within that number, right? And you're right, it's not a forever home, for the most part, and help them do the right things. So one of the things that we've kind of been dealing with here, I would say in 2023, is I think we did an amazing job the last 36 months, 48 months, even 60 months, putting our clients into the right house in the right neighborhood with the right lending partner. I believe that. And I think that, instead of knocking on the door, right, and it's like, oh man, it's a great time to sell. I think the conversation could be very different, right? So we've had some dialogue with some of our clients that are wanting to, maybe they've got kids now ready to go to college, right? And maybe an opportunity could be to pull some of those dollars out based on their price point, and they could pay cash for a condo or pay cash for a house in somewhere USA, right? And we could help them be part of that conversation, right? And obviously, if it's in Colorado, we can help them broker that. But our referral network is nationwide. There's also people that today they purchase a lot of short-term rentals over the course of the last 5 to 10 years. And, this is not a short-term rental call, but, with all the things happening in that world, there's an argument where a person, if they own 4 of them, 5 of them, 6 of them, maybe they start to put those on the market and sell them. They collect those dollars and they do a 1031 exchange and do a 10plex. Maybe, right? Or a strip mall, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can help our clients with. So I think we just need to be creative in creating opportunities, right, that have nothing to do with that, to circle back to that national headlines and what's going on. Because as we all know, people get married, right? They get divorced, they have kids, kids go up to college, and, what a way for us to be part of those life-changing events, right, as their trusted advisor, because of the great work we did on their first transaction, right? And if we can do that, I think we can be a huge steward to our clients.
Well, and guys, it's really, and I want to speak to the agents that are hopefully listening to this out there in the earth. Guys, it's on you to go educate yourself and make sure that you are ready for these situations when they arise, and that you're bringing some of these ideas to your clients, right? Like Michael's 100% right. Like, and so Newsweek had an article this week, and I do think it's a little on the alarmist side, but Denver and Breckenridge both placed in the top 10 counties where they're seeing some of these proceeds that people are making on short-term rentals come down to earth a little bit, right? Yeah. Now, there's a lot going on to that. It doesn't mean that everyone who owns Airbnb is cutting their income in half, but it does, there's more and more Airbnbs in the market, right? Yeah. There are, people are traveling a little bit less as people are returning to in-office work. And as, we do see inflation, some people's discretionary income has gone down a little bit, right? So that's obviously going to add up impacts. So maybe it is the right time to have a conversation with some of your clients that are looking into those short-term Airbnb situations. Is like, hey guys, it's not the right time to say like, hey, we made our money, we made our hay. Let's sell these out. Let's release these back to the public so they can be primary residences. So that does a couple of things for the market, right? That reintroduces some of that inventory back to primary residence buyers that need places to live, right? Put some money in our sellers' pockets, and they can go if they want to pay the cap gains and they want to distribute that to back to the market, back to other streams of income. Great. Or we do pack at 1031 exchanges, right? And there's lots of ways they can defer that tax burden and reinvest out there, right? So I rely on the resources. There's 1031 exchange courses out there. There's Airbnb classes taught by some of the really great people here in Denver. I know other states maybe don't have the same level of access to some of those resources if they're title companies and things like that don't offer those. But man, there's stuff online. Winterman University has thousands of hours of education on that. The CRE school, Armbrust, any of these places that offer online education, it's out there. And again, I'll say sorry just all the time, so I'm gonna say it to you guys out there, listen to us in the interwebs. It is your job to go out there and provide to your clients, and when your clients' business is not their job to come to you, right? So it's not your client's job to say like, oh hey man, I got these 3 Airbnbs, they're not performing as I wish, it's time to sell them. You have to go out there and provide education, and that means giving a lot of your time and talent away for free, right? Make some
Right.
videos on YouTube or Instagram and talking about like, hey, we're seeing this recession. If you guys are feeling the burn here, here's some options we can talk through, right? Go talk to some of your financial planners because they're probably the first line defense when that things start happening, right? They're going to do those, they're going to look at capitalization rates. They're going to look at their loss and expenditures. It's like, hey, man, this thing is, you're making money, but you're making up, 2/3 the money you're making last year. Is this really the best place for your dollars anymore? So be accessible and go out and pursue those answers, right? So pursue those answers and provide those solutions. You're going to do it for free. That's what we do. You're going to make the business based on the relationship.
Yeah, I like that. We have always said to our agents, it's not your client's job to remember you, it's our job, stay in front of them, right? And doing that in a thoughtful manner that is providing value, and additional value, right? I heard over an agent at this conference on Monday in a comment of a strategy, right? And it kind of made sense. It's so, pick your neighborhood, and let's say you've sold in that neighborhood and you've generated a listing appointment. And that's all it is, an appointment, right? You've already done the homework, you've already pulled the comps, you've already done all the work, right? What a great way to shoot a quick text or call your client in that neighborhood, right? And let them know, hey, I'm going to an appointment. I just did a bunch of comparables around your area. I'd love to come by and talk to you about your house, something like that. You've already done the work. Or better yet, what if, do you know anybody looking, by the way? Do you know anybody looking that would love to be in your neighborhood? And what if they tell you yes? Right? How different would that be when you went to the listing appointment, right? Versus talking about how amazing our marketing is, how amazing our photography is. We're going to do open houses because all the three people behind you did the same thing, right? So, but what if you went in and you'd had some of that dialogue? You said, hey, by the way, I've sold in this neighborhood and I spoke to one of my clients. They actually have somebody they know looking in this neighborhood now. We can try to pull something together right away, right? How does that different if you're a seller, right? Who does this once every 10 years, that's one strategy. The other strategy, too, Andrew, that I think we used to do in the past and we maybe need to get back to is something about how do you feel about your Zestimate, right? Because chances are it's probably not correct, right? I can give you the right, property valuation, type of thing. Those just type of conversations that we can have, and you just don't know where it's going to go, right? I talked to a friend of mine today up in Northern Colorado, and I didn't realize it. I mean, I knew something was happening, but unfortunately, they're going through a separation and a divorce, and and yes, the conversation came up about real estate, and no, it's not the appropriate time to have that conversation. But you know what? It was just dialing through my phone, my 5 calls a day, just happened to catch one, and it was just like, if we can do anything, just don't hesitate to reach out. Just let be there as a consultative person. And again, those are things that those are everything that we're talking about today cost us $0.
Yeah.
It's research, it's time, it's compassion, right? And that's what we do, right? And I think if we continue to demonstrate that, it sets us apart from the crowd, right? And as a realtor, for those of you guys listening and watching, it sets you apart. And those are some of the things that we work on in our brokerage, right? A little selfish plug, but we work on those things in our brokerage, right? To help our agents sharpen the saw on a regular basis and stay in front of things in the marketplace.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like staying connected to your sphere and staying connected to the marketplace is super important, and especially I think just by virtue of, like maybe the limited number of transactions we've seen the last couple of years relative to previous years, like we're down, probably like a 500 to 1,500 transactions a month, depending on the month, relative to the last couple of years,
We have been.
So I think we have to have a really diverse area of expertise, right? So I think the times of like, hey, I work this one micro neighborhood and that's where I get all my business. I mean, unless you just have a hyper active neighborhood that's turning over that many properties,
right?
Man, you probably need to spread your wings and fly a little bit here, guys. And again, and so there's plenty of education out there. Getting involved in your boards is a really great way to do that. Making sure you stay connected to the nearby neighborhoods and collaborating with some of the realtors around you. It can, if there's more transactions, we're all going to grow together. So I think that's another thing we try to do recently is we tend to like, even certainly between brokerages, like, oh, that brokerage across the streets, they're the rivals, and even to a certain extent on our own teams. It's like, no, guys, the more good real estate being done in our markets, the better it is for all of us.
Right.
You know, we have an agent down in Colorado Springs who, I mean, she's doing an amazing job. She's been in the business for years and years and years. And she has gone every weekend for the last like month or two and held open properties that were listed by other brokerages just because she wanted to work in those areas. She wanted to get used to that market.
Mhm.
Obviously for her, it's an open house for her. Like if a buyer walks in, she's gonna try to work with them, right? You know, if they buy that house, great. But there's nothing wrong with collaborating with other brokerages and with other teams if they have a neat idea or a neat project you guys want to work on together. I mean, I can't speak for every managing broker or every office out there, but I'm all for it, man. I'm for high quality real estate being done in the state of Colorado.
Yep.
And I want Windermere to be involved as much as we possibly can.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that we can't give a little here and there. You know, like
Right.
let's collaborate, let's work together.
Right.
Let's keep it going. The more and
Right.
obviously the more good real estate being done in an ethical and highly effective manner, the better it is for all of us, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Right. No, I totally agree. And I think at the end of the day, our client, you know, especially for our listings, our client really doesn't care where that buyer comes from. They don't care if they came from an app. They don't care if they came from a past client of somebody else's. They don't care if they came from a robot in New York. You know, I think we just need to be able to facilitate that transaction and get it done and make it a win-win for everybody, right? And you know, we can't speak for all brokerages, but that's part of our culture, right? Is win-win deals. You know, the other thing is, you made a comment on one of our calls with the agents on one of your masterminds, by the way, something about, you know, the game of inches, right? So when, you know, there's a movie that you and I both like, you know, Any Given Sunday, and there's a couple lines in there about, you know, games are won and lost, you know, sometimes with an inch, right? And you know, I started thinking about that the other day, and you know, sometimes we just do a little bit more each day, you know, that one more email, that one more comment, that one more social media comment. You know, when somebody finds out, you know, the one that comes to mind is pick your best friend, you know, you just find out that they're pregnant. They put it out there on social media, that one extra little, you know, congratulations to get your eyeballs in front of it, and also being, you know, compassionate in that environment, and also being aware is huge. But those are just the little things of that I think will set an agent apart from somebody who's just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, engage differently. You know, I do think it's very important to like measure that engagement. Like I just have, you know, I'm a big time blocking guy, so I have my mornings, you know, from like, I don't know, like 8 to 9:30, 8 to 10, right in there. I was kind of setting everything up, man. I'm touching base on text, I'm touching base on Instagram and Facebook, kind of checking in. It's different every day, and I don't have like a pre-planned thing. I'm gonna say the same, you know, sentence to 20 different people. I just kind of scroll through and stay in touch. I look on, you know, we're very blessed to have Moxie, and they have the stay in flow section of that. So I can see people who I haven't touched with in a while, and I can make sure that way I'm staying top of mind. And it's pretty low effort with the technology and the support systems out there today, guys. You just got to do it, man. You know, like if you're losing touch with your clientele base, it's probably because there's some sort of asset or some sort of technology piece out there that you're just not employing.
Right.
And if you're crushing it, keep doing what you're doing. If you're making money, keep on going.
Right.
But if you are looking for opportunities for growth or looking for opportunities to increase your contacts or increase the number of transactions you're having, I mean, we can't control how many of our clients have money to spend or how many houses we have to sell, but we can control how much our output is, right? We can control how we engage with our sphere and how we're putting ourselves out there on social media and networking events to expand our sphere, right?
Yeah.
So
and I think you know, too, one session that I took on Tuesday afternoon was a section on you know, marketing and your perception, right? And in this example, the presenter actually took some volunteers and just randomly Googled, right there in the room with 300 people, right? Just see what was out there, right? And you know, in this example, there was a little bit of non-consistency with this one individual in our state, and from the various social media platforms, they all looked different. So from a consumer standpoint, that's kind of confusing, right? So whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's Facebook or Threads or Instagram or whatever, versus another agent where everything was the same. They were all very consistent. The other thing that he pointed out randomly was the agent that there was almost this constant, you know, I got my client $200,000 over, you know, their list price. Well, if you have people out there that are going to work with you as a buyer, what messages are you sending to the buyer? like, gee, houses I'm going to buy are $200,000 more than I can afford, things like that. So I think we got to be careful on that piece of it. Because you touched on something that's kind of personal, and that is, at the end of the day, it's the buyer's threshold, right? Whether it's a cash transaction, a finance transaction, whatever it is, that can drive that dollar. It's not necessarily the seller and or the listing agent necessarily. We need to price homes appropriately to get them sold and get them positioned correctly in the marketplace. The market will dictate where it goes, right? Sure. And I think sometimes there's a look that gets skewed out there. And lately it's been skewed a little bit. And I think now that we're seeing a little leveling in the market, I think some agents are starting to see the pullback, right? Like, I'm here for you to be your buyer's agent and get you the best deal. Well, last week you just said that it wasn't the best deal because the house shot up in value. So I think we got to be careful of how that perception is out there. It's subtle, but I think people are hearing that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, man. Like, it's definitely subtle, and it definitely kind of flies in the face of affordability and finding good deals. I don't know that if I was a listing agent, my first marketing tip would be that I missed the price by $250,000.
Nope.
Nope. Like, it's
nope.
I don't claim to be the best mathematician, but I try to be a little more close than that.
Yeah.
And like I said, guys, and I don't know if that's the kind of messaging that is responsible or reasonable.
No.
Obviously, that seller made a good return on their investment, and we should celebrate that and congratulate that seller. Good for them. If you would have priced it to where it was $150,000 higher than list price, would they have gotten any different number? Probably not.
Yeah.
And would you have gotten, a good amount of potential buyers in there that are like in their threshold and offering right around asking a little bit above, that now have to probably feel a little bit of shame that they're missing by $200,000, there's a lot of ways to do it right. And hey man, I follow the philosophy of let's price a home a little more conservatively and see if we can create some competition. That's just good business. Mm-hmm. But if you have a feeling that if you're gauging the market as the home's going to sell $200,000 higher than you have it listed for, I think it's okay to kind of push that market a little bit, so we're not dangling a carrot to a part of the market that has no place being in there.
Yeah.
Yep. And buyers don't get dissuaded, guys. It's always been a challenge in Colorado, at least for the last 13 years, 15 years, somewhere in there. It's been tough, but I've never personally not got it done. Right. I've shopped at, sub $200,000, and I've helped clients fortunately buy at north of $1 million. Yeah. And it takes, obviously there's a big delta in there. And if you're in that, $600,000 or less time frame, it can get tough. Right. But that's why it's really important. Talk to your buyer's agent. Have a plan in place, have a strategy in place, talk to your lender, and make sure you guys have a very clear definition of what your maximum comfortable monthly payment is.
Yeah.
And just shop in there. The rest is noise, guys. Me and my wife aren't looking at $5 million homes because it doesn't help me out. It doesn't help anybody out. Right. Work with your lender and your buyer's agent to figure out what your maximum monthly payment is that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And shop in that price point. Then you're playing the game, man. Then you write offers with confidence, write offers with the knowledge that once you get this house, it's only going to be a celebration because you're not worried about the payment, you're not worried about a gift, you're not worried about being able to afford this next year. Mm-hmm. That's what we can work with. And if you can do that, then it's all upside. Yeah, will you miss some? Sure, it's fine. If you go to the grocery store and they're out of eggs, you don't throw your fist in the ground. You go to another store, you wait till next week. Yeah, it's the same thing, guys. Yeah. Shop in your comfortable monthly budget and pick the best homes in there and write offers. Write a lot of them, write them with confidence, and you're going to win eventually. It may not be the first time, may not be the second time, but I know that sounds like a weird approach, but it's a winning one. I promise you that.
Yeah. No, it is. And, I do believe in my heart that things do happen for a reason. And, there could be a reason why our buyer didn't get a potential home, something that we don't even know about. There could be a reason why it was just the right home at the right time with the right seller, and really, putting a plan in place. I think you're exactly right. And it's more than just us, right? I mean, you've got our inspector team, we've got our appraisal team, our home warranty team. I mean, all these are a team that we go out there. It's not just us. Yeah. So, well, great. Well, as we're wrapping up this week's Fun Fact Friday, you got any final thoughts here?
Yeah, guys. Hey, it was really fun. I know we threw a lot at you. This conversation was a little bit more, a little more wide than we usually do. But it's mid-year. We're investigating a lot. A lot of our agents have a lot of different things come up they want to discuss. So we're really trying to lay it all out there for everyone who is interested. But if I could put this in kind of a succinct little nugget here, it's hey, interest rates are what they are, right? They're going to shift. They're going to go up and down. I do think that longitudinally over the next 12 to 24 months, we're going to see them come back. So as far as what we're going to do today, if you are in the market to buy a home, work with your lender, work with your agent, find that comfortable monthly budget and shop there. Shop there, shop often, write offers with confidence. And Michael's right. I've been doing this for as long as Michael, but doing this long enough to say, like, I've never been at the closing table with my client signing on the new house and then being like, oh man, this is great, but I sure wish we got 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street. It's like, no, like once it is your home, it is your home.
Yeah.
And stick with that plan. You will win. Right early, right often, right in your budget, you will win.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. It doesn't matter what home or property you'll make it a home. You'll make it your home at the end of the day. Right. And that's what's important is creating home. Right. And we're here to help do that. So, well, great. Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Andrew. It's always good to get your perspective and, whatnot. And with a lot of things going on there in the office in Denver. We got a lot of stuff going on with our agents. Busy days, been a busy week.
2 open houses this weekend in Littleton at 8418 Otis Street. They'll be there from 11 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday. So come on by, check it out, get some of our new guys there. I understand there'll be chips and water, so enjoy yourselves. There'll be a good time.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Well, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching or listening in. We're always here to help, and we're always available. So you can reach out to either one of us. So have a great one. Have a great weekend.
See ya.
All right.